everybody, it's Valerie Wallace Fine Arts free drawing class every day at 1 o'clock. And today we're going to do a camp, and I'm here in Orono, Maine, and in Maine we call a camp a little cottage by the lake where the family goes on the weekend, or if you're lucky you can spend more time than that there, but it's not a summer camp where kids all go to, that's also a camp, but anyway. And today is Thursday, April 30th, I think. All right. Almost May. Okay, so we're just going to get right into this. This picture is taken from one by Jamie Kapitain, Balsam Lake, and I encourage you to check his pictures out. Yeah, and I was going to say, I wasn't sure if it was a guy or a girl, but I'm pretty sure it's a guy. And they're super cool. Okay, so again, this is just sort of working with showing a little cottage in 3 dimensions. When you're drawing, like he used a pen, and when you're going to do something like that, you don't want the lines of the house to show through your trees. So that means you have to do the things that are in the front first. So we're going to start with the trees. If you are looking at this picture from side to side, this is about the middle, okay? So this big tree that we're going to make here is going to be just to the right of the middle. That's if we want it to be something like this, if you're going to want to use this to go by. Okay, so I'm going to find the middle of my picture, which is about here. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to draw a line that touches the top of my page and comes down, you know, go down low in the foreground. Don't touch the bottom, but bring it down because you want to have plenty of room to sit your cabin back there. The tree is pretty big, but it's not enormous, right? So I'm going to bring something down. If anything, it'll get a little wider at the bottom. And here's sort of a little trick to make it look like it has roots, okay? So kind of cheat this line out a little bit and cheat this one out a little bit like this. Okay, kind of with a little curve to it. And then in the middle, what's happening is you're having a little root that's a little foreshortened, and I have this extra line, so I'm going to kind of have it go kind of like that. There'll be a little, sort of little points. Okay, and that way they'll kind of be sucked into the dirt a little bit. This one has a little branching, so I'm going to leave a little sliver of space, and I'm going to have a little more, there we go, kind of like that. Okay, I'm going to come back and deal with that tree a little bit later. I'm going to put one over here, and in this case it goes basically to the corner. But I would decide if you wanted to really lean, have it go off the side. If you want it a little straighter, you're going up there. And the bottom of this and the bottom of this are pretty close. So it doesn't really matter where you put that. But start up at the top. People think that trees are smaller than they are, but they almost always are going to go off your page. Okay, so get something like that. I'll bring it a little bit wider as I go down. And cheat those 2 pieces out like this. And then kind of have a little triangle that goes down the middle, kind of like that. Okay? I'm going to use, I was just saying I have these pens that I bought, I think for doing the dog caricatures, and it should be just like me to save them until they dry up. So I'm just going to use it today. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing. So I want to find the middle of my picture, and I'm going to go a little bit to the right, and I'm going to do my, instead of a charcoal, I'm going to do it in pen, because this is, you know, like I guess I said that, he did it with pen, and then put a little watercolor on the top. Okay, so I branch these out, come back in. All right, and maybe I'm going to have the other, if I need to, I'm going to add that on. Okay, I'm going to do the other one over here. Start way up near the top. If your trees lean, no big deal, because trees do that, right? You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be a straight line. If it curves a little bit, that's not a big deal. All right. Oh, these things smell. I was a little suspicious of the kids who love the smell of the markers, because they're out there. All right. We're not going to do these because these are behind the cabin, so we'll just deal with that later, but we're going to do this fir tree that's over here. So just think about how close it is to the side. We want to have a little space between the edge of your paper and the back corner of your cabin. Okay, so I'm going to be imagining it's be about here, and I want to bring the tree over a little bit more. So, you know, bring that in a little bit. Oops, I'm going to use the wrong one. Okay, so here, like I said, I'm going to go in a little bit, and then I'm going to go a little more. And this one, I'm just going to do a straight shot. But the bottom of this tree is a little bit higher. Not a lot, but a little bit higher than that one. Okay? I forgot to say, I mean, I'm using a brown, just jumping right in. But if you draw with something lighter when you start out, then it's easy to kind of make corrections if you need to. Okay, so same thing here. I want a little space. I'm going to go a little bit more. And bring that in. It's going to be a little bit shorter. All right. Okay. I'm going to stick with this. This is a nice cool brown. I'm going to use that to draw my cabin in, and then I'm going to use like a reddish brown, like a brick colored brown, to do the cabin. Or you could, you know, make a red cabin. What else? Purple?
A yellow cabin.
A yellow cabin? Yeah. Yeah, this is just a little teeny tiny place up there on the lake. Okay, we're going to start with this. We keep sort of doing it in the same way we've been doing just like one little room cottages and stuff. So we're going to start right here with this line. This is a little bit to the right of this last tree we made. Okay, and you need to have the line a little bit above where the bottom of your where your trunk is, because otherwise, if you put it lower, your tree is in the way of your wall. So you have to have it go here. I'll be about here, and it's not super big, right? So I'm going to put a line right about here. Okay, about that big. This is a really neat effect that having that open space and the trees reflect silhouetting in the sky. It's just kind of a neat effect. It makes the cabin seem smaller to have these trees up above. So I mean, you could make your tree you could make a cabin that's this big, but if you keep it a little bit smaller, it will have that feeling that it's tucked away in the trees. All right, we're going to go to this line right here. I want you to start basically where the top of this one is. You're going to go over. Hopefully it'll make sense to go over between these two trees. And you're going to draw a line down like that. Okay? Now we'll say these are both the same size. Okay? You can connect the top. All right? Now what happens is this corner is a little bit closer to us than this one. Not a lot, but a little. So I want to make sure that this one, hopefully I give enough room, is just a hair, quarter of an inch, like that kind of thing. Quarter of an inch, eighth of an inch will be enough just to make a difference, okay? If you do a half an inch, it's gonna be a little too extreme, but it's okay. So I want this one lower than this one, okay? And when I go to connect, it should tilt up just a teeny tiny bit. All right, and maybe you want to take a look. Is that working, or mine look the same size, don't they? Do they look the same?
They look about the same.
Oh, God. Okay, if it's not, like if I'm looking and that doesn't seem like quite as much of a difference as I want, I'll just bring this down, and I'll just do it again and make it a little bit more of a tilt. Okay, you see how that happens? It's easy. I'm close to my tree, but that's okay, because it is pretty close. All right? We're going to do the same thing over here. Oh, let me do that much down here. Okay? So, I'm going to go near this thing here. Oops. Okay, and then over here. Okay? And I'll go across. And this should be horizontal in this case. Okay, pretty much anyway. Oh, it's tilting down, is it?
Yeah, it's down.
Now is it better?
It's less down, but it's still down.
Okay. And then I want this one to be longer by a little bit than this one. Does it look like it does?
Not much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If you're cabin has a little sway, a little scoop, or something like that, it's just going to look like it's older, okay? It's not a big deal. It can happen, okay? All right, now we're going to do this wall over here, this corner, okay? So we'll do the same thing. We'll have it go on the other side here and be about, you know, line right up. It's going to be start at the same place, and it's going to come down, but it's going to be a little shorter than this one, okay? And that way when you go to connect at the bottom, it's going to slant down a little bit. Don't do the top just yet, because we're going to do a little something different with that. So I'm going to do this one. Alright, and I know I got my tree right there. That means my tree is like right on my cabin. But sometimes that happens. Have you ever been anywhere where the trees grow right through the porch?
Yeah.
I can't think of right off the top of my head where that's happened, you know, but I know it's happened a bunch of times. Sometimes it's enormous. Like I think sometimes they just
do it intentionally.
Yeah, they build it around there and it gets getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is kind of tricky because I don't know what happens with the roof, but anyway, they can grow. It'll grow right up there unless you cut them after you got it around the house. Okay, good?
Good.
We're getting there? All right, now the thing about this cabin versus some of the other ones that we've done, like the one with the red roof, there's a second story up there. This one is just a little tiny low roof. And if you look right here at this triangle here, this line is very short, okay? So you're going between these two lines and you're basically saying, well, where's about the middle? And then if anything, you go a little bit to the left of that. You don't have to, but let's just say we find the middle, and we're just gonna go up a little tiny bit. Hopefully your tree is just to the side of that, but if it isn't, you'll just have to imagine that you're going behind make the dot in the tree and cover it up later, okay? And then you're going to connect from here and make it go a little bit longer than where the wall is, all right? Same thing here, you're going to go like this, and you're going to connect that a little bit longer like that. Actually, that's not going to, well, yeah, that'll still work. That'll be our little flashing along the wall there. Okay, now, this is kind of what I figured out the other day. If you have a big enough hand, so I'm going to connect here. Alright, and this is going to go off a little bit. But if you take the size of the front of your roof right here, and you line it up with the corner here, that's going to tell you where this line is going to go to. Because they're going to be the same. It makes a parallelogram. I think that'll work. And then you're connecting from here to here. Make sense? Does that work? Felt right?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay. Taking a while to figure that one out, but alright, so this is right in the middle. So my tree is right in the middle here. So I'm just going to go up a little bit, make a mark like this. I'm going to go down on my roof here, over to my roof over here. This little triangle right here I'm going to color in. It's the underside of the roof. I'm measuring this. Okay? I'm measuring the lower part of the roof. I take my thumb and I put it on the peak of the roof, and that'll tell me that I'm going to about here. That's where the top of the roof line goes, right over there, and then that's where it slants down. Okay, and if you go off the edge a little bit, what you have to do is add on in this space a little bit. Okay? But I'm going to put a little shingly stuff on the roof anyway, so it's not going to matter. Alrighty. Yeah, so let's do the door and the window and stuff like that. So the door, the thing about it is that if you make a door that's only this big, this is the enormous, like hotel, okay? So it's all about what size you make the door. So if I make my door like this, where the top of the door goes right up to the roof, it makes the cabin look little, all right? So I've got that, and a screen door has like a nice little square on the top and a square on the bottom, kind of like that. Should be even, but they're not. Okay. And I'll do a window too. This window is close to the, you can put the window anywhere where you want. You can put a whole bunch of windows, whatever you want. I would just hope that there was a window on this side, on the other side facing the lake, because I can never understand why people make their camps and they don't put a window on the side that faces the view. Or why people put teeny weeny windows in their houses and it looks out on beautiful things. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know it's about saving heat, but I get a lot of solar heat in my house, so I'm all about it. Alright. And then in the back, we're having another window, so you can decide whether you want two, but you want to be imagining that the tops are pretty much lining up with each other, or you'd go in someplace and some of the windows would be, they would not all line up. So you're doing something kind of like that, okay? If you made an extra line on the top, we can do a couple of lines like this, and then you can, if you make them at diagonal lines, just little bits like that, don't worry because you're going to color it, but it'll give it a little texture like shingles, okay? Give a nice solid, I forget what this is called. It's not called flashing, what's it called?
I do not know.
Yeah, it's not, well, it's kind of like trim, but I don't know. Alright, so I'll do the same thing down here. Nice tall door. When years ago when my husband was putting the second addition on our house, he had a bit of a fall and broke his wrist. And it was August, late August, just before school started, and I had to do I had to do a lot of the work on the building part of it, like nailing stuff, because I couldn't do it, even though he wanted to. I told him he couldn't climb the ladder anymore. So did his doctor. And I am terrible about, precision, if you haven't noticed yet. And I had to measure all this stuff. And I'd be like, yeah, it's like, 48 inches and a little bit more. Like 48 inches and an eighth and 3/8. And I'd be just like, I don't know, just a little more. So good thing, it was very trying for him, but
you both survived.
Yep. Yeah. I still, yeah. So anyway, I had to know the names of all those things back then, but I don't remember them anymore. Ooh. Did some demo. Got good with my crowbar. Remember that though, and I fell in the attic.
Oh yeah.
And I had this huge, ugly bruise on my leg.
Yeah.
Huge. But
it happens.
I didn't wanna drop my, what do you call it? Is it reciprocating saw?
I have no idea.
Is it this one? It's like like an electric knife that you used to carve the turkey, only you can cut up wood with it. It takes 2 hands. Builds up the muscles. Alright, we got our little cabin, right? Oh, wait a minute. The other thing I want to do is the logs. Okay? So you make some lines like this. Don't forget, try not to go through your tree. Right? They don't have to be even. No one's going to match them up and say, oh, it's here, but it's not here. These didn't line up right. All right, the back. This one would tilt a little bit, but don't worry about it. All right. Let's do these 2 other trees, so I don't forget those. So, and you could put more. You can put as many trees in as you want. And this one over here, you're having, they get a little smaller as they go up if you want it to look better. Let's do that because that's in the front. And the thing about it is, something. They're a little smaller. Oh, I know, is that they don't, usually what happens is the fur is so thick that the branches that are down near the base, they die. So there's not as many down here. Okay, so which is good for us. Okay, I could even put, I like a branch that goes up, it's easier for me. This one, maybe one over here. Okay. Good. You got it? You getting it, Daph?
Yep.
Got Daphne here with me today.
As always.
She's got to do a little bit more homework. Finish up her junior year.
A little bit more than a little bit.
A little bit more than a little bit, but you know, it'll get done.
Yep.
It'll get done, or
always get
whatever.
it done.
This is a hard time to try to be in school, big kids or little kids, or even not kids.
This is true.
Okay. I like it already.
Veronica's glad she graduated last year.
Alright, the next thing I want to do is, I want to put the lines on here, is to work from the background forward, which means if you want to put something in the sky, if you want a sunset across your lake, now's the time to put that on there. Even if you just want like a little bit of pinkish glow or whatever, now's the time to do that. I'm going to take this dark green now, and I'm going to put a line here. I'm going to go real soft with this line, and I'm going to just do a little bit of color, very, very small. The smaller you make this little green wiggly line, you know, up and down a little bit, the farther away the other side of the lake is going to look, which I guess doesn't matter. But if you want it to look like this is a good sized lake, you want to do something like that, okay? I want to mark where this camp is going to fall into the lake in somebody's lifetime, because look at it, it's sitting right here.
Maybe it's a downhill sort of thing. I mean, it's still probably going to fall in, but...
Yeah, it's still a little bit close to the shoreline. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit, just to be safe. And if I make little, I always want to say brush strokes, but... What do you call it that? Strokes? I'm going to make them go up a little bit like that, and that's going to help me look like I have a little bit of grass. So I'm going to do the same thing back here. This looks like maybe there's a little point on the other side of the cabin. Okay. I'm loving this.
Good.
I want to do a little bit of the scraggly on my fir tree. It's okay if the cabin shows through a little bit, but I don't want the whole thing to show, you know, because obviously the tree's not super thick. If I go to these brown branches and I just make little pieces that hang down there, that'll shorthand it fir tree. Okay? Big though. Don't be little tiny, like, bristles on there. Long ones. Okay?
Alright.
Alright. Yeah, I did just want to say that this is, you know, we're all having, or, you know, everybody has their days that things, you can see the bright side. There's days you can't so much. You know, just try to be understanding. And, you know, if you're having a bad day, know you're taking it out on everybody else. And if somebody else is taking it out on you, remember that some days you're the one that's doing that.
That's true.
But it's hard. Give yourself a break. Sometimes I think, you know, maybe people aren't upset with other people. They're very understanding, but they expect themselves to be perfect and handle everything. But, you know, there's no glory in that, you know. You don't win anything just by never showing that you're vulnerable and that you're having a bad day. Okay? That's my advice for today.
Thanks.
One of the things that happens in the a lot of times inside windows it looks dark during the day, but sometimes this is kind of a neat thing, is if you make a window that has a sash in it, is that the upper part of the window will reflect the sky, and then the lower part of the window won't, and it will look dark. So you do kind of like that. All right, I'm gonna do a little with my pen down here, and then we're gonna get the colors on there. We'll be good to go. I do like it.
I like it too.
It makes me wanna go outside and do a little sketching.
No, not very nice.
Someday I'm gonna get to that. I don't know why, but you'd think I'd be able to have all kinds of time to do stuff, but there's been
We gotta stay out of the
so
attic.
much yard work.
Oh, there has been a lot of yard work.
Stay out of the what? The attic.
Yeah.
Keep going in the attic and moving things around, putting in different boxes and putting names on them. It's like the corona cleaning syndrome.
Yeah.
I'm sure not everybody
You
has
got
it.
it.
I got a bad case of the corona cleanings. Alright. I think this might be good, but I remember when I was a kid that I would keep markers that didn't write well to do light things, because it's one of the things with a good marker, it's a lot of times markers just in general don't come very light, and I want to be able to draw light or draw on the skin or something like that, and I would have them that run out of ink. But if your ones up here are a lot longer than the ones at the bottom, you can't really change the ones at the top, but you can add on to the ones at the bottom. So if you wanted to have a little bit of a point, I mean, his don't change very much. Just remember that it's not over just because you didn't make the ones at the top too long. Just add on to the other ones. In anything that you find you made some part of it too big, well, you just make everything else a little bit bigger to change the proportions a little bit. Oh yeah. Am I remembering everything? I'm gonna grab this tag for a second. So this is a little cross-hatching thing too. This will make it look a little screen door-ish if I go in a little direction like this. I don't know if you can see. You can take the, if you put it on full screen or if you're clicked on the video later, you can get it to get right close up on the pictures. Yeah, zoom in by either, depending on what you have, is Control Plus a couple of times, and that'll zoom it in, or usually there's somewhere, it's the what is it, the shape that makes it zoom like on it? Is it the magnifying thing? Or?
Maybe.
Or also you might be on your phone just like that, and you'll be able to get it closer. Okay, which is great if you're doing it on like the TV, because then it'll be like you'll really be able to see well. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm ready for some color, so I'm going to put a little reddish brown on my cabin. Okay. And I can just go right over these brown lines. I'll kind of blend them in. All right. Sound good?
Sounds good.
I'm going to put a little, if I put a little brown right at the foot of the door, that same width, and then I kind of draw a little side to side, and then as I work my way down towards the bottom of the paper, I get bigger and bigger and bigger, like that. It will look like, because when you're at camp, you wear down the grass going in and out of the door, so there's your little dirt path, okay? I am going to use a little green on my roof. I don't know, this has got a lot of green on it, but I'm just going to go with it. Okay, like that. And I'm actually going to grab the black, and I'm going to do the inside of these windows black. We luckily at our camp have electricity.
Yes.
Actually, we even at this point have Wi-Fi and everything. Because really, it feels like it's not near anything, but it actually is pretty close. But a lot of camps don't have power, they have to have a generator, or they don't have any power, or they don't have plumbing, which is my favorite invention of all time. I was just thinking about it again, that running water is the best thing that ever happened to humanity as far as I'm concerned. All the way around. There's nothing I love more than I want a gray.
I don't think you have a gray.
I'm gonna use this one right here. So I'm gonna put gray on my trees because, like I've said a couple of times, that a lot of times a tree's bark is a lot more gray than you think it is.
It's true.
Yeah, I love my toilet. Well, anyway, because when I was a kid, we had an outhouse, and at my grandparents' camp there was a lot of times if you went to somebody's camp there was an outhouse, or even I know, like, I don't like to go camping. I don't like to. But I did with like Girl Scouts and stuff, and those like, state parks, they didn't have toilets either. So I love it. Just like many of you do. Alright, there's that. I got kind of a gray day on my camp. So one of the things to help set up your perspective as well is having the back side of the cabin, or one side of the cabin, be a little more in shadow. So I'm gonna do that. I'll cheat my little tree down a little bit so it's not gonna knock my house over. There we go. Okay. I might also want to go like right along the bottom of my cabin with some scribbles that go up and down like this, and that will look a little bit like grass, because you don't bring the mower unless my mother's going to be there and she wants it mowed. Right around the roots of the trees. That's going to help to set them in the ground a little bit too. Like if I want to, maybe on this one what I'll do too is like, say the sun's over here, that's making that back side in shadow, is that I will just have a shadow right here, and then my trees will have a nice shadow going right in the same direction. That. And I want to darken these up a little bit. They might be a little darker on the left. A tree is a great thing to crosshatch because it's a short little space for you to go in one direction and then go in the other direction. That's out there. We might have a couple up high. Oh, I forgot about the ones here. There we go. This one. If you use a little smaller pen, it has an even nicer effect, but see it that well if I did that.
Mm.
And so I want a little, if I'm going to have a shadow, then that means my trees are going to have a little extra dark on that left side too. Okay, and in here a little bit. So I'm going to put a little, same thing maybe with this. Maybe I won't do it exactly this, the deal. But I will bring a little darker green right up next to my cabin, kind of like that. Bring this like this. It's going to come out on the other side because it's not going to, I could use the green with the brown just because the reddish brown and the green will make will make a nice color. Will make a brownish color. But if I take, what makes more sense is I'll darken the brown with the darker brown, and that's the shadow of the tree going through the stuff. And I guess the last thing I'm going to do is a little bit of light green for the sunny patches where the sun's getting through the trees. Right?
Yeah.
I love a little cottage drawing. It's neat to have. It's so easy to do that perspective, I think. So double check if your house looks funny, just make sure that this point on the roof isn't up higher than the one that's here. And if by some chance you did make it too high here, just add on to the roof. Just bring this line up. You can kind of cheat, the trees in the way, don't worry about it. But bring the peak of this roof up. You won't need to bring it up a lot. Even if it's even, that's okay. But it can't be higher down here. Or it'll look like your roof is messed up or whatever, right? And then I might want to do, if I want some green, like up at the top where the trees are. I can do that. And see all that looks like leaves. You're not going to draw each leaf separate, right?
Right.
Because that would look, that would be funny. It wouldn't make any sense. Oh, I need this one. There's a lot of greens in this pack of colors.
I love it.
And put it right over other things, because that's going to, the branches might be over each other, kind of like that. Okay? Sound good? I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I will be posting that soon. If you would like to leave me a donation, that would be, super sweet and nice. And that's at Valerie Wallace Fine Arts. I always feel like I'm saying that wrong. Finearts.com. And you can go to the ticket page and do that. And I do this every day at 1 o'clock, at least for another, few weeks. If you have any requests, just send them my way. And you can see these anytime you want to. They're all on my Facebook page, or you can see them on YouTube. And if, I know money's tight, but if you feel like you want to give me a little favor, give me a like, then I know you're watching, and that's great. Or you just share it. Share it with your friends, or encourage somebody that you know that's trying to fill the day, to try it out. And if you go to the playlist, then there's more. This is, I think, 41. So there's 41 choices. You probably can find something that might appeal to somebody. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.